Maybe the speaker had an
जब हम 2 दिन से घूमने
Maybe
शुरू
the
किया है ना,
speaker had an
तो
accent.
जूते नहीं पहनती मैं,
Maybe the
छाला पड़
microphone
गया, क्या
quality was
करूँ?
unfair.
जान,
Here, fairness had been replaced
जान,
by sameness. Everyone got the
जान
same
जूते नहीं पहनती,
punishment.
छाला पड़ गया, अभी क्या करूँ?
When the first team's number posted, a little murmur moved through the room. Not applause, more like the sound people make when a storm shifts direction. Then the second team's number posted. Better. Then the third. Worse. The board rearranged itself without needing anyone's permission. Names slid down. Names slid up. The movement was small, but it carried the full moral weight of a verdict. Mara looked at the linguist beside her. His hands were clasped too tightly, knuckles pale. It wasn't performance anxiety, it was identity anxiety. He was watching a method, a worldview, become optional in real time. It's not that I'm against numbers, he said quietly, as if confessing a sin. I just what? Just wanted language to remain sacred. Just wanted understanding to count as much as outcome. Just wanted the mind to be something you could respect, not merely something you could beat. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The scoreboard finished it for him. At the front of the room, someone asked a question that sounded technical and wasn't. But do you know what it's doing? The question hung there for a moment like incense, the old religion trying one last ritual. Jelinek didn't flinch. He tilted his head as if the question were familiar in the way certain insults are familiar, heard so many times they stop landing as personal. We know what it does, he said. It reduces error. Mara watched the room react. A few people smiled, relieved, as if someone had finally said the unsayable. We are allowed to stop pretending. Others hardened. You could see it in their faces. The refusal to accept a world where explanation had to beg for relevance. During a break, Mara watched Jelinek stand near a window with a paper cup in his hand. The glass reflected his face back at him, older than the field wanted to admit, calmer than the field could tolerate. She had expected him to look like a conqueror. He looked like a man who had made a kind of peace with measurement. Outside, the parking lot shimmered with thin winter light. A flag snapped once in the wind, and then went still again. Mara found herself thinking, without invitation, about what it takes to prefer numbers. Not intelligence, not cynicism, not cruelty, a certain kind of history. Jelinek had grown up in a world where words could be weaponized, where official explanations could be polished and false, where a sentence could mean safety in one room and death in another. He did not trust elegance. He did not trust doctrine. He did not trust the beautiful stories people told themselves about why the world should work a certain way. Numbers, at least, did not pretend to be kind. Numbers did not comfort you, but they also did not lie in your language. The room called everyone back. In the second half, the atmosphere shifted from curiosity to triage. Teams stopped talking about linguistics and started talking about features they could add before the next submission deadline. A young engineer scribbled bigrams on a legal pad with the frantic precision of someone taking inventory during a fire. Someone else sketched a diagram of a hidden Markov model like a map out of a burning building. Mara watched the transformation happen, not as a revolution, but as a reallocation. Time moved. People stopped arguing about what language is and started bargaining over what could be measured by Friday. Across the room, the linguist stared at the scoreboard and looked for a moment, physically ill. So, we become decorators, he said. It wasn't bitterness yet. It was grief, trying to find a shape. Mara didn't answer immediately. She thought about the chess lab's evaluation function sculpture, Daniel's feature extractor, tuned like an instrument. The perceptron, dismissed because it didn't work. Yet. The same posture, repeating itself with different nouns. She thought about how every field eventually invents a way to stop talking. They call it a benchmark. They call it a contest. They call it progress. At the end of the day, the program manager returned to the microphone and thanked everyone for their participation. The word sounded polite enough to be harmless. It wasn't. Participation meant you had agreed to be ranked. You had agreed to let a number decide which arguments were allowed to continue. As people packed up, a technician reached for a cable and unplugged the microphone. The speakers popped softly, one small electrical cough, and then the room's official voice vanished. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of the new sound: paper shuffling, keyboards clicking, people making plans in the language of the scoreboard. Mara walked out with the linguist into the cold air of the parking lot. The rental cars gleamed under the streetlights like teeth. He exhaled hard, as if he had been holding his breath for hours. "They're going to win," he said. It was not a prediction. It was recognition. Mara looked back through the glass doors at the room where the leaderboard still glowed, unattended, like a shrine that didn't need worshippers to remain powerful. "Yes," she said, "because they made winning easy to see." The microphone had moved to a new speaker. The old speaker could still talk. But the room had begun to listen elsewhere.